Welcome to the Picture This Photography podcast, where we talk about all things photography. And today we're going to be talking about photography lies. Dun, dun, dun. You tell yourself. And I know what you're thinking. Myself?
Where did you get that drum machine? Oh, no.
No, I did that myself.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like that guy from that cop movie.
Police Academy?
Yeah, that's me. So I know what you're thinking. I can't tell myself lies, Chelsea. I am myself. I'm me. No, you can and you do. We all do it. And we're going to be talking about the lies you tell yourself when you're packing your bag to travel, when you're out shooting, when you're trying to buy gear. We've thought of a few we've told ourselves, and we know you're going to be able to relate. But first, here's a lie you tell yourself. I don't need a website. Because I'm cool. No, you're not. You need Squarespace, okay? If you want a website or domain or online store, you can get that. You can get it free for 14 days. If you go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea.
But Chelsea, my Facebook page is just fine.
It's not.
No, it's
It never
really
is.
not.
Right.
Okay, let's get right into it with travel and packing.
Yeah, and we're going to have some tips on how to help you. It's not all making fun of us. We're going to be helpful, I think.
This one gets me all the time. I won't need a tripod.
Yeah, I tell myself that lie too. You know why? It's a convenient lie to tell yourself. You're like, hey, guess what? I don't want to carry this tripod. And also now I'm concluding I don't need a tripod. How convenient. And guess what? You might need a tripod. We've been places before where if I just thought about it an extra second, I would have realized, yeah, I wanted night photos, or there's going to be a ton of people there, so I need to do a time lapse so I can get rid of the crowds, and I didn't have my tripod.
Absolutely right.
And then you try to do that thing where you try to like put it on like a wall or something, you try to improvise.
You're leaning and trying to use sensor stabilization. And
it's no good.
it's the worst when it would be an awesome shot, but you're just not prepared.
Or you just like jerry rig it enough so it looks fine on the back of your screen, but then you get it on the computer and you're like, I need to stop telling myself this. I always tell myself, I'll travel light this time. And I don't do that ever. And you don't either. I think you're a far bigger offender on this one.
What? I always carry more gear than you. In fact, half the trips we take, you're like, oh, I don't need a camera. If I want to take a picture, I'll just borrow yours. And then next thing I know, I don't have a camera. I just carry the camera.
Yes, but I'm saying that sometimes you say you're going to travel light and you always have the most gear.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. I was thinking what a mistake it is to travel light, because that's how gear-centric I am.
First of all, let's back it up. You misunderstood.
Yeah.
Then you put me on blast for something unrelated. See, I'm not feeling you right now, Tony. Mr. Carries Everything Northrop. Your backpack is so heavy that if we get like a cab or something and they go to pick it up to put it in the trunk, they're always like, whoa! Like it's always like a spectacle.
Back tires of the cab blow out.
They have to count it as an extra passenger. You're absurd, sir.
I often actually say I am traveling light this time because I think of all the stuff I didn't bring.
Yeah, but then we get to the room and you start pulling out like drones and like stabilizers and like lenses that overlap and focal length. You're wild. And then I steal your stuff.
What about, I can leave my camera in my room. I got my smartphone. If something comes up, my smartphone's pretty good.
I'm
and
actually...
then something amazing actually happens and you end up with a crappy little smartphone picture.
Yeah, this one's me. The last one was you and this one's me, where I think we're just going to dinner. I should just leave my camera in the room and enjoy it. And then sure enough, I end up with regret because there's a beautiful night scene and I should have had my camera and my tripod and I have failed.
As a photographer.
As a person.
These are lies you tell yourself. I can sleep in. No worries. You go to some beautiful spot and you're like, oh man, this is my vacation. I'll just sleep in. I'll just get a nice picture at like 9 a.m. And then you show up to the spot that you wanted to photograph and the sun is high in the sky and it's packed with 1 million tourists.
You can't sleep in. You know what?
But you're not going to get good pictures.
I really wanted to sleep in on our Norway trip because it was like 4 a.m. and raining. And dear sweet Ireland talked sense into me. And I got up and got some of the best photos of my life. You can't sleep in. I don't know why. It's not fair. We can't delay the sun. So how to be honest with yourself. I know some of you have had these same lies that you've told yourself, and you just have to overcome them. And you have to use logic and reason to reject those lies. You have to have a plan. So when you travel, you should be looking at what you actually want photos of and not just kind of speculating and throwing gear in your bag. You have to know yourself. If you're going to pack a 30-pound bag, are you actually going to carry it, or are your shoulders going to get tired on day one and then you just don't want anything to do with your camera bag at all, right? You have to know the photos that you want. So if you love taking night photography, like me, taking night photos, you shouldn't leave your tripod at home. That's a dumb one I make all the time. And then also you have to assess how important your photos are. So if you're out taking pictures for, let's say you're a professional photographer or semi-professional, and this is something you could actually use, like that's important. You should not be slacking. If it's just a casual night out and you don't really care about getting high quality photos and your phone will do, you can leave stuff in the room if that's what you want.
Yeah, and finally make up your mind if you're going to have a relaxing time or you're going to get great photos, because often those two things don't go hand in hand. Like you have to wake up early. You have to stay out a little bit later. You have to hike to that slightly better spot and wear yourself out a little bit more. You decide if it's important to you or not, and then say, you know what? I'm not going to get the great pictures. I'm just going to relax. But that's fine. At least that's a choice you made.
I find
don't lie to yourself.
I'm at peace with it if I decide. So like sometimes on a trip, I'll be like, okay, this is going to be the day we're going to this location and I'm bringing my stuff and bearing the inconvenience because I'm going to plan to get a shot. And then other days I'll say, okay, this is the day we're just going to this place and I don't care. I'm going to leave my gear or take less and just relax.
Okay, we're talking about lies that people tell themselves. And now we're talking about editing lies.
The lies you tell yourself when you are editing. The biggest one I see is, I can fix it in post. Whew, that is just not so easy, guys. And you know it.
Oh, how many millions of times have we said this? Like a model will have hair that is just going crazy, but the vibe is kind of good and you're kind of in a hurry to get it done. And you're like, oh, those flyaways, I'll just fix them later. Oh my God. You're trading like 2 minutes of tidying up hair for 2 hours of post-processing. And then, it's not going to look right.
Yeah, and then you end up with some crazy looking edit if you're not extremely good at editing. Skin, the smoother the better. That's a lie people must be telling themselves, because I see some creepy smooth skin on portraits all of the time. And it's okay if people have pores and wrinkles and stuff. Like, we're human. We're supposed to have skin, and eyes should not be glowing like you're some goblin mask on Halloween. Like, dial it back. You gotta chill.
We gotta make a whole video about the eyes. I'm so sick of seeing glowing alien eyes on everything.
Tired of creepy goblin eyes, says the woman who's done it many times.
This edit won't take long. The client wants a couple of things airbrushed, but I don't need to charge them extra because that's just like 2 minutes, just like do.
Yeah, they told me to shave off 50 pounds and take the logo off their shirt and give them a bouffant. This should take 2 minutes. It never happens that way. It just never happens that way. Oh, and then this one is a good one.
Yeah, this has been in the news lately. Nobody will notice this composite. Like, oh, the scene would look so much better if this person were standing just a foot over to the left, or if the stars were a little brighter, or if the moon were a little bigger. Oh my God.
Composites are hard.
They might pass at first. You might show it to all your friends and nobody will notice. But the problem is, best case scenario, your picture becomes popular and famous, and then you only need one nerd to see your photo and see through your BS. And that's been happening a lot lately. People are onto this stuff. Like this National Geographic photographer who took these amazing pictures of trees with the stars behind them, and then these astrophotography nerds, man, they're like,
I love them.
That's not where that galaxy belongs in the sky. They wouldn't see that constellation on the horizon from that position on the globe.
I respect that nerdiness.
You cannot put anything past them.
You're not going to get away with it. And you're going to feel silly, and you might be tempted to lie about it. If it gets that far, please don't lie about it. Just say the jig is up. The jig is up.
Peter Lick photoshopped a big old moon into one of his photos and very intimately described how long he waited to make sure everything lined up.
Oh,
and then,
no. Cringe.
And then photographers who know this stuff look at the moon and are like, oh no, like the moon wobbles? And they're like, when he took that picture, the moon wouldn't have been at that wobble.
What? People know about the moon wobble?
Yeah. And I mean, also the clouds go behind the moon in the picture, which is another giveaway.
Oh, man. What about when people blame their assistant? That one makes me so mad. They're like, I apologize for my assistant's mistake.
Ultimately, it's my responsibility.
Falls on me, but it wasn't me.
But that assistant is no longer working with us. Let's just say that. And Steve McCurry has been blasted over and over again for this. Like this, this composite that his assistant made.
Oh, yeah. That assistant.
And like, you can look at these pictures and be like, yeah, it's a better shot if the guy's not walking in front of the pole. You want subject separation. Like, I totally get it's a better picture with this thing. But people are going to call you out on it. Nobody is so good at composites that they won't spot it if, best case scenario, your picture becomes popular. You might get away from it.
Steve McCurry?
Yeah, you're under scrutiny if you're a big name like that. So you got to be honest with yourself.
Be honest with yourself, Tony. Know your skill level, because when I edit, I consider that. I'm like, I'm not very good with flyaways. I'm just going to fix their hair. That's done. That problem's gone. Try to get the shot right in camera if that's what you're going for, or shoot to edit. So if you know your editing ability and you're like, oh, I can do this, or I have to shoot it this way so I can edit it later, that's different. But don't just not put any thought into composition or contrast or lighting and then expect Photoshop to be able to save you.
Watch our Girl with the Pearl Earring video, because in that one we did as much as we could in camera, but also shot to edit. Like, we thought these things are easy to edit, these things are hard to edit.
Time yourself editing, because I was thinking every photo would take me 5 minutes to edit and realized I'd just been sitting there for 2 hours. And so a few times I would edit how long it took me to do a photo. And now I have a much better idea of how long things actually take. That's especially important if you're a working photographer doing family portraits, because you need to really know how much time you're spending with each shoot to know what to charge, you know, Tony?
I know.
And then more is not better. Editing is so much fun. You can sit there for hours just tweaking incrementally until you're left with this crazy mess and it looks great to you. And you can see that on my Instagram right now, and I'm very proud of it. Okay.
These are lies photographers tell themselves. Now we're going to go over the gear ones.
Oh, these ones are good.
Yeah. People love gear. So it's real easy to lie to yourself when you're enthralled with something, when something feels cool.
It's easy to lie to yourself when it's convenient.
Like, this new lens will totally pay for itself. I just need to buy this $2,000 lens and then somehow produce $2,000 worth of operating profit in order to pay for it. Sure. No problem. Yeah. People really want to pay a lot for those wildlife photos nowadays. I would take better photos if I had the very best camera.
Yeah, that one's really good because you want the best camera, but also now you can blame something else for your bad pictures and you can get the camera you want. Yeah. I've been tempted to do that one too, but...
Yeah, we've proven, like, even just technically time and time again, you can have a cheaper camera and put more time into it and get better results. You just put a little more time into it.
Here's one. My photos look blurry. I need to buy a new camera. And that happens a lot. People will have just some technical problem in their photos and they don't understand it, so then they assume it's the camera's fault. And I don't think that's great.
Not always. Sometimes maybe. I need more megapixels. Again, yeah, maybe sometimes, but most people who say this, you probably don't.
Yeah, well, I always tell myself I'm going to make big prints, and when has that happened? 3.5 times.
So be honest with yourself. Think about your final format.
Yeah, you might not need a ton of megapixels if you're making just 5x7 prints or only posting online on social media where people might not be seeing it large anyway.
Consider your goals. Are you really selling it to somebody who's going to scrutinize it, or are you just having fun and trying to develop some skills?
Yeah, and decide if you're pro or not. Are you going to make money at this? Can you really pay off that lens? Will it pay itself off? Or are you just going to try to sell headshots to your friends to make a couple bucks, make $400, and get nowhere near paying off that $2,500 lens? Let's get real. In the case of my wildlife lens, I don't know. I don't think I'm paying that thing off, Tony. But I do think it will hold its value. And if I can ever part with it, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, total cost of ownership is a great way to lie to yourself.
Yeah, that's how I lie to
Making
myself.
that gear seem like it's
All right,
going
we
to
need to add that to the podcast. And then correct your technique before going shopping. It's so much less exciting. I understand that. But if you have camera shake in your photos, that's you. That's your technique. And the good news is it's really affordable to work on that. Because first of all, you have our YouTube channel, but also we have books and videos, and you can learn about your shutter speed that might be causing your camera shake, and a number of things. And it's all on sale. Everything in our store at sdp.io/store is on sale for Father's Day, and you can use the coupon code DAD30 and get 30% off of everything. And if you're like me and you're always last minute with the shopping, you can just do that now and then not have to worry about Father's Day. Sorry, Dad. I guess you know what you're getting. It's a photography book.
After the break,
we're going to be talking about social media lies that you tell yourself and shooting lies that you tell yourself. The excuses you make, why you're not getting better pictures, or why you think you're not as popular as other people.
Yeah, Instagram likes don't really matter, right?
That's what someone told Madeline about my job.
Oof. Okay. Getting a little personal.
I am. They do matter. I got the dollar. Okay, if you want the dollar, if you want likes to matter, you should put your pictures in a beautiful spot that's not just chronological, but you want your best work right out there when people go to your website, and you want your contact information, and you want to look professional. And you can do that with the Squarespace website. If you go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea, you can get 10% off. So thanks, Squarespace. Start your free trial today. No credit card needed. It's just that easy.
Thanks, Squarespace. Let's talk about lies that you tell yourself when you're shooting and taking pictures. There are no good locations near me. I hear this one all the time. And, well, I told myself this one because we live in just flat Connecticut, which seems really boring to me. And in fact, no matter where you are, that location seems boring, right? Because you're acclimated to it. You're used to seeing it. But it's not true. Like, other people could come to your location and they will start to see pictures. You have to learn to see your location as if it was new, with new eyes. And you have to try to get the very best pictures at that spot that you possibly could. Be the very best photographer at your location. You can look at another photographer's work and think, oh, they're only good because they're traveling all over the world and going to all these locations.
Yeah.
But that's a weird way to break it down, right? Like, we're not assessing your skill as a photographer for how good your pictures are sitting in your living room. That's not the game of photography.
Yeah, not only that, is not the best photography ever was not travel photography. And there were very famous photos. What was it, Sally Mann, who just took pictures of her kids in her backyard? Like, you can make it work, guys.
Right.
Another lie, they just have the good models for portrait photographers.
Yeah, model makes a big difference, but so do your relationships in photography. Like, whatever they did to get those models made a difference in their picture. Maybe they built relationships. Maybe they built a huge Instagram following and then the models came to them. Maybe they went to a different place where there were better models available. Maybe they discovered people, like you walking up to one of our favorite models just in a restaurant and giving her your card and then working to develop her skills. Yeah. You managed to pull it off, though. You pulled off creepy.
I went to jail.
So you have to be honest with yourself in these things. Like, are you the best in your area? Whatever landmark, whatever slightly pretty thing is in your spot that you can visit, do you have the best shot ever taken? If not, then get out there and make it happen.
Yeah, if not, that's on you, man. How about expect progress to take time?
That's true.
Because a lot of people just say, I can't take that photo, or they make excuses about why other people's photos are better than theirs. But the people I know that take great pictures are just taking pictures constantly. It just takes practice and time.
And for decades, right? It
Yeah.
takes a long time. It's a long game.
And know that successful photographers have many skills. So if you see someone that you think their photography is good, but why are they so popular? It's probably because they are great at, forming relationships, and they work really hard, and they're good at business or some other skills that they kind of form together with photography to make it all work.
You know who's a good example is our friend Louis Chen, who lives out in San Francisco, but has amazing photos all over the world.
Yeah.
And the dude is super social. He makes lots of friends. He gets to know people in different parts of the world, and they take him around and show him good locations. He's also has a good non-photography job that gives him enough money that he's able to take some time off and travel. Like, that can be part of it too. And he manages his finances well enough that he has the disposable income to do those sorts of things. And that all adds up into him taking great pictures. That's part of it.
Yeah, well, he has his own business, and he could very easily say, I have my own business. I can't leave. I have my own business. I'm too busy for this. But he doesn't. He takes the time. He blocks it out when he makes it work. And then I'd also say, know your strengths and weaknesses. You might be a highly technical person, so maybe work with a creative person, or maybe you're very creative and you could work with a more technical person, or just another creative. Like, it's not just all about what you're good at and what you're bad at. It's about understanding yourself and your limitations and making your strengths work for you.
And something like the nerdier people don't seem to understand are that locations and relationships are part of it.
Yeah.
Like, they really think if they buy the right gear and they know all the settings, then their picture should be the best. And if it doesn't work out that way, then it seems totally unfair. Like, they were promised some sort of game, but no, like, getting to the right spot at the right time, knowing the right people, getting access to the right places, getting on the sidelines instead of in the stands, getting in the pit instead of in the mezzanine.
Yeah.
These are all things that go into making great pictures.
Yeah, like Chris Reddy just got a pass to his local sports team and was shooting on the sidelines instead of in the stands. Now, the lies you tell yourself about social media. I hear these all the time.
Yeah, these have got to be the worst, right? Because people are very opinionated about it, especially old school photographers. They say things like, likes don't matter. That's not how you assess a picture. But as somebody who has had no social media and then developed a social media following, likes matter. This stuff matters. It really does. When you have a good following and you have a lot of likes, then you're suddenly doors open. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Jobs
you get
come
invited
to you.
places.
You get invited places. If you wanted to shoot some great model in your area, the odds of you being able to do that with 100,000 followers are a lot better than if you have 100 followers. Maybe you'll have to pay a bunch with 100 followers, or you can do an exchange with 100,000 followers. If somebody's thinking about hiring somebody, yeah, they're going to look at the people with big social media followings because they'll get some cross promotion. But also, maybe they're wrong, but people will assess skill level based on how much of a following you have, because we all want to jump on the bandwagon, right? Like, that stuff matters.
Yeah, and it's kind of always been around. Like, social media likes, how is that any different than being in a gallery and being well connected to the art community and being liked and appealing to that circle of people who will then advance your career? Like, it's kind of just like understanding your audience and then using, your advantages to navigate that space.
And I know the idealists out there will be like, well, that's not true because that's not fair. And they believe that they live in some world that's fair. And no, it's not fair.
It's really not fair.
That's just the way it is.
Sorry, it's really crappy. But sometimes that unfairness works to your advantage. So you can be thankful for that. Instagram isn't for real photographers. That's one that I've heard. And I used to hear it more like a couple years ago than now. It seems like more and more people are just on Instagram. I just don't think that that's a very good attitude to have.
It's just for pictures of your breakfast and your big butt. That's all that's on Instagram.
Tony.
It's not true though, right?
No, it's true.
There are amazing photographers on Instagram, and the next generation of top photographers are emerging on Instagram and developing their skills on Instagram. That's where they are.
That is where they are, isn't it? I'm better than those popular photographers. It's another one I've heard people get really upset, like, oh, they're just doing this. That's why they're so popular, and I'm so much better, and why aren't I as popular? And it's just not a good way to think of it. Like we're saying, life's not fair. Like, You could be the best photographer in the world, and that doesn't necessarily mean you will be the most respected or the most popular or the most successful or the richest. That's just not how it works. It has to be a cluster of skills that you have.
Yeah, and what, you're better because you're assessing yourself as better? Like, it's good that you have that confidence, but if nobody's seeing your pictures...
I always think that's funny when I hear someone tear down another photographer and they'll say, oh, their pictures are crap. And I usually find that their photos are different and that people are mistaking skill for taste, or even confusing skill as being the most important thing, because I've certainly seen imperfect photos that are really impactful and kind of socially very important. And so that's just a matter of taste. I don't think you even have to really worry about other people in that way.
And even if you found a photographer who's not good but is popular, then there's something you could learn from them, right?
Yeah, I mean...
They must have some skills if they manage to get popular without being a good photographer.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. What are they doing?
So you got to be honest with yourself. Social media, yes, it's dumb, and yes, it still matters.
Yeah.
Yes, there are crappy photographers who are extremely successful at it. Yes, it still matters. And if you're good and you can also be good at social media, then the sky's the limit. But if you try to deny social media like it doesn't matter, you're closing a lot of doors for yourself. You're blocking access to great relationships, great clients.
Yeah, I think that's the same with other formats too. Whenever someone writes something off, whether it be social media or like I was talking about galleries earlier, it would just be good to research what you're not respecting more, because maybe you're misunderstanding.
Some people will say it's not important because they're not good at it.
Yeah.
It's this weird kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy, like they're afraid of it or something, and therefore they say it's not important. But we all start with 0 likes and 0 followers. We all start somewhere, and the only thing you can do is get in there and do your best. You just have to be honest with yourself. You're starting at 0, but you start today.
Yeah. Do you think people sometimes become afraid that by being on something like Instagram, maybe their biggest fears will be validated if they put up what they think is their best photo and they don't get likes, then they feel like crushed in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. They'd rather not play the game at all than lose the game. But not playing the game is losing the game. You've already lost by not playing.
Yeah. I think then you have to kind of dig deep and assess why it matters so much to you and what you ultimately want out of it, instead of just comparing yourself to everyone else, which I think is just fruitless. What's the point in that? So yeah, you need to figure out what you want out of it.
I want people to look inside and have like brutally honest, painful moment and ask yourself, what lies have you told yourself?
Pizza is a vegetable.
It's easier to look at other people and think, what lies are other people telling themselves? But what lies have you told yourself, and how has it held you back? And how did you finally open up with yourself to the honest truth?
Yeah, comment down below and let us know. We won't judge you much, I promise. And thank you, Squarespace, for making this podcast possible. Whether you want a domain, website, or online store, make your next move with Squarespace. They have beautiful, award-winning designer templates. This ain't no amateur trash. These look gorgeous. And you can get a 14-day free trial. No credit card needed. Just go on there, drag and drop your pictures in, see how gorgeous and professional they look. And when your 14 days is up, that's it. It's just gone. You aren't going to be charged or anything. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off.
Thank you, Squarespace.
And thank you for watching the Picture This Photography podcast. If you like this, we put out a new episode just about every week. You can go to your favorite podcasting app or just subscribe here and subscribe to our podcast playlist. And you'll get a notification every time we put out a new one. See you next week.
Bye.